I couldn't figure out why I could be smart and successful and resourceful and strong in every area of my life but that one. How is this one thing so insurmountable for me? How how does that track? Couldn't figure it out. And so it was a constant source of frustration, low-level frustration. But a lot of times I was too busy and, being a mom, being a nurse, just getting by to think about it too hard.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Reshape Your Health podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Morgan Nolte, and today I am delighted to bring on another Zivli member. Her name is Wendi, and she's going to share a little bit about her story, her weight, and her health story. And we were talking offline, and I told her, I said, you've earned joy. Like you can just tell from her story, she's been through some things and she's just a light. Anytime I've had the opportunity to connect with her in a group coaching call or she'll comment in the coaching call, it's always fun and it's always joyful and positive. And I think that you're going to see that side of her today. And I'm excited to learn more, Wendi. Like I've connected with you in those calls, but I'm really excited to hear your story, like start to now. So thank you for agreeing to come on the show.
Sure, it's wonderful to be with you. It's always good to talk to you.
Thanks. So let's start. Just tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and get into that weight story of like, when did your issues with weight or body stuff start?
Sure. It's a lifelong story. As soon as I was old enough to have a body image, it was a bad one. So I have been, I was on the found out I was on the chunky side when I was about 10. And, the cottage cheese diets came out and uh, just continual effort. I was overweight in high school. And at the time I was in high school, that was pretty unusual. It's more typical now. But during the 1980s, it was not. And so I did struggle with that, my body image and weight, and everything was so weight centric, especially for young women and young girls at that time. That's also changed to encompass all the boys now as well. So it was always at the forefront. There was never a time it did not exist. So since I'm 53, that makes over 40 years of
Mhm.
thinking about it, dealing with it, doing something about it, not doing something about it, ignoring it, being upset about it, just a lot of battling.
And before we get too far, is there like a memory? You said, as long as I've had a body image, it's been a bad one. Like if you
Mhm.
think back, was there a memory or a stressor that caused you to have a poor body image?
In my family, there was a lot of teasing around it.
Okay. Mhm.
In my extended family. My immediate family, not as much, but I had a very big extended family.
Okay, so
And
people
so
just
there
kinda
was
teasing you.
yeah, yeah. It was it was fair game.
And then you're so impressionable, at that age. I
Mhm.
remember, like, part of my body story was in 8th grade, this guy no, I was in 7th grade. He was, like, the cool 8th grader, and he called me Manly Morgan, and then he said something else that I won't repeat on the show because it's inappropriate. And just because I was, like, big, I was 5'8" and strong and fast and Manly Morgan, and so I got a necklace and earrings, and I wore them every day the rest of the year to, like, try to be more feminine, and everyone has a weight story, and I just think it's so interesting how we carry those kind of core memories around with us and how they influence us, and so yours kinda started with some teasing from extended family, and then on
Mhm.
and off diets, ignoring it, so how did that like, what was your weight story like in adult life? Because you have some children, so I was just kinda wondering, how did that evolve over the years?
I ended up marrying my high school sweetheart, and he, of course, loved me just the way I was, so that worked out. And I had some complications during my first pregnancy that were weight related. I was I was really classified as obese from the time I was a teenager, by definition, and so I was obese when I got pregnant for my first child at, 25 and had preeclampsia. My grandma had also had preeclampsia with her first and high blood pressure, so it
Mm.
wasn't something I put a lot of thought into, even though I know the obesity was tied to it. I knew it was also something that happened in our family, and my grandma wasn't obese. So I was able to just get through it, and I did lose 30 pounds then before I got, pregnant for my second child and did not have the same level of complication. That was a much easier and smoother pregnancy. 3rd pregnancy, same. I was kind of returned to the same pre-weight, not normal weight, but not as obese as I had been. Um, I call my fighting weight the 160s, so I was at my fighting weight. Uh, and so for my 2nd and 3rd pregnancies, and so they were much less complicated, we got through that. Um, and from there, being a young mother, I was at home with my kids, and I did a lot of scratch cooking and, um, ate a lot, just ate what I wanted to, tried not to think about it off and on. It's always on your mind when it's a problem and you want
Yeah.
it to be different and you wanna be a certain way for whatever reason, it's always on your mind. But there were times that I was able to just ignore it or probably look like to anyone else that I wasn't thinking about it. When my ex-husband and I split up in our mid-30s, I did lose 60 pounds, pretty rapidly. I just didn't have an appetite and had a lot of stress, and I kept that off then for 6 years.
Mm.
Eventually, I started eating again, after nursing school. It was
Oh,
after I
I
got
didn't know you
through.
went to nursing school in your 30s.
I did,
Okay,
I did.
that's cool.
I entered nursing school at 36. My kids' dad, my ex-husband, was in Iraq. He had been deployed at the beginning of our divorce process.
Mm.
And so I was going to nursing school, he was in Iraq. I was staying real lean in those days, a lot of stress, a um, lot going on. And it wasn't until after I had gotten through nursing school and was going through some other things in my life that you never know why. It's like a switch. I never thought I would be heavy again, honestly, when I was at in my one when in the 130s. And so then, something happened that got me emotionally really off center, and I just started responding little by little with food more and more. And
Mhm.
so then I put weight back on and pretty much stayed there and then just fought it continuously so I would have been probably 42 at that point. So for the next solid decade after that.
Yeah, so what kinds of things did you try when you were, say, like, "I was
Mm.
fighting it"?
It'd be
Mm.
shorter to tell you what I didn't do.
Yeah.
Uh, I was in tops with my mom. That was a really fun based what the kids would call based program.
As a
Um,
wait, I don't know the lingo. What does "based" mean? I don't have
Based
teenagers
means
or what
solid, basic in a good
solid.
way. You're based, yeah.
Okay,
You know what's up.
good to
So,
know.
yeah, that was, it'll be gone tomorrow, but for today, that's the lingo.
Okay, based.
Yeah.
I
So
feel
being
cool for today, knowing
right,
yeah.
exactly. It's a very short-lived experience for me. Uh, so being in I did tops for a while, off and on, and then, I've been in Weight Watchers. I did do the cabbage soup diet for a hot minute. Most of my diets didn't last a whole day. They
Oh,
didn't they might make no, really. Like
I
breakfast, I'd be
yeah.
good, noon, starting to falter. By the time supper and bedtime rolled around, done, forgotten thought.
Mhm,
Many, many, many days. I
mhm.
have years worth of days like that.
Yeah.
Uh, Here in the morning, gone by afternoon.
What
A
kinda
lot
toll did
of
that take on you, like,
Oh, yeah. Uh,
emotionally?
it was very difficult. It was really difficult. I couldn't figure out why I could be smart and successful and resourceful and strong in every area of my life but that one. How is this one thing so insurmountable for me? How how does that track? Couldn't figure it out. And so it was a constant source of frustration, low level frustration. But a lot of times I was too busy and, being a mom, being a nurse, just getting by to think about it too hard. Some of the things I didn't do, most of my efforts, none of them revolved about around exercise, I can assure you. Most of them revolved around food, cutting calories, cutting fat, because that was the thing for a long time. At I never at that time really experimented with more fat and protein. I just knew I had kind of a really like hypoglycemic reaction. I knew I always felt better if I ate less sugar, more
Mhm.
protein and fat. But it was just kind of background knowledge for me. I didn't have any programs that like reinforced that. And then some of the things that I definitely didn't do were like the metafast, or having my jaws wired shut, surgery, bariatric surgery,
Mhm.
even like Ozempic and Wegovy, I just didn't go that way. I felt like where I was sitting, for me personally, my body had always responded to a calorie deficit, and I was not in that enough danger. The risk did not and benefits did not balance each other. The risks were
Mhm.
too high for the benefits for my particular situation. So I always steered clear of those. And of course, the longer I was a nurse, the more I knew about the ramifications of some of that stuff. And I had a dear friend who was a nurse, a hospice nurse with me,
Mhm.
that was a young girl, and she had a sleeve. I think it was the sleeve, and she ended up passing away from the complications after a decade.
Oh my goodness. What do
Y-
you know? I
She
hope you
had,
don't mind me asking what complications, because a decade later is if
yeah,
she was
yeah.
young, that's
Malnutrition is a
devastating.
big one.
Uh,
Malnutrition is a huge one. The 2 things about bariatric surgery, which I think is wonderful if that's what gets people if that's the vehicle that gets people where they need to go, then I think it's wonderful. You can eat your way out of it, and it also has tremendous complications for some people, and I think, her
mm,
having those complications where she had to have revisions and, she was very ill, got infections afterwards, some of that was just her. And then, later on, she ended up passing away, and I think she just had, like, a chronic malnutrition issue after that. It
mm,
helped me see, the possible price that could be paid. So I didn't think my situation warranted that, even
mhm.
though other people's might. So those were
Yes.
some of the
Yes.
things I didn't do.
So
Uh,
what drew you to Zivli? Because you tried a lot of stuff. I feel like a lot of
mhm.
people when they find us feel like, how are you feeling at that point? I'm kind of
Mm.
curious. I know how most people feel, but how are you feeling? Like having tried a lot of things, not wanting to do surgery or medications.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." One more thing, that I'm not going to be able to make work. That's really
Mm,
what's in the back of your mind. One more
yeah.
thing that I'm not going to be able to make work. But what drew me to it and what made me take the chance, was just seeing, like, into the soul of the program through the videos that were coming into my feed.
On
The
YouTube? Is that
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, at that time, it was on YouTube that I was accessing them because I was into a lot of, like, medical type podcasts and stuff,
Mhm,
and a lot of them were about lowering your insulin and your inflammation, and I had started tracking my own in about 2019, and so within a few years, I'm those are terms that are known to me, and I understand more about what they mean. So when Zivli was hitting on those and I was hearing that, and the way you approached the topic, was more than medical. There was that very emotional component to it. I was like, "Oh, now we're clicking. Now we're
mhm,
firing on all the
mhm.
cylinders." So, and that's when I was like, and really at that point I was like, "What do you got to lose? You're not doing anything. So come on."
Right. One of the most powerful things I ever heard, well, two things when I thought about starting this business, which is scary, like it's scary to leave a stable job and start a business, was like I would rather try and fail
Mhm.
versus like not try and then regret it later. That was the
Right.
first thing. And then I heard someone say somewhere on a podcast, because, that's where we hear all of our life-changing things.
Exactly.
Um, you're already living your worst case scenario. You're already living your worst case scenario. You're already working in the job that's okay, but not like what you really want to do. And what happens if it fails? Like you come back to working this okay job. So you're already living your worst case scenario. And I think
Yeah.
those two thoughts are helpful, at least for me, when I'm questioning like making another choice that might or might not work out. So, yours was you were kind of feeling like, okay, this is one more thing that I'm not going to be able to make work. So what motivated you? Like, how did you get over that hump to try it and to try that one more thing?
For me, it was the emphasis, the way Zivli was put together. I could tell it was different. And I could tell it was different because the emphasis was on low insulin, low inflammation. There was a lot of thought and care that went into it. I could really tell, even in the name itself, because it had a
Mhm.
meaning. And
Yeah.
I'm very into names and what they mean, with all my kids. And um, there's a power in words and in names. And so the fact that there was a whole thought process that went into the name, and it was so unique, I thought, "Well, if this is the name, then this program's gotta be
Mhm.
something. It's gonna be
Thank
something."
you. It took us a long time to pick that name, so I am really
It
glad
doesn't
you
seem
picked that.
like it. It was like, "Oh, of course, that's what you'd call it."
Nope. You wanna hear a little bit of background really quick behind that?
Yeah,
Just some fun behind the scenes? So we had a few criteria. Number one, we had to be able to trademark it because it has to
of
be
course.
unique to
You
be
have to
able to
run it through
trademark
the
it.
trademark thing.
Yep. And you have to afford the domain, the .com domain. That was one of the biggest barriers because if I was a
Mhm.
smart kid in the 90s growing up or the
Right.
80s or whenever they came out, like we would have been buying up these .com domains like it was cheap real estate and then like
Mhm.
reselling them to people 30 years later who want these things. But, I really liked Health Key, like lowering insulin was the key to improve your health, Health Key, unlock your
Okay.
cells. That was like a
A good one.
$100,000 domain, and I'm like, not up in here."
Perhaps not.
No. So yeah, Zivli, for those who don't know, it means Ziv is to live in Croatian. I am not Croatian. It's just that all of the live words were taken in English. They were too expensive. And then the LI is low insulin and low inflammation lifestyle. So that's what Zivli means. In the Zivli community, it's not a real word. We just made it up. And so I'm glad that you liked it because it was hard.
I did, I loved that part, and I could tell too, just the way you talked about things. I didn't think you had ever been obese. I guess I didn't have
Mm,
uh, like, a preconceived notion about that one way or the other, but you just had, like, an empathy and a compassion around food issues, and you don't
yeah.
have to be obese
No, you
to
don't.
have that knowledge,
You
and
don't.
or to have that compassion, for people. And I had a nursing background and you had a, PT geriatric
Mhm.
background, so I felt like, there was that relatability there, and the longer I've been a nurse, the more I'm like, "Okay, people gotta move." I tell my patients all the time, "You gotta move, you gotta move, you gotta move." Um, I actually told one of mine not too long ago, I said, "I'm gonna tell you something because I like you." I said, "You're on the razor's edge of not being able to live at home and take care of yourself. Every muscle you have while you're laying in this bed, I need you to move it any way you can." And that's where I'm at now in my nursing career is appreciating that importance and selling that importance. When people are worried and emotional in their illness and they're thinking about all kinds of little things that don't matter, um, I gotta get them focused. So, and a lot of it comes back to that movement as they're laying in bed, being my patient.
Well, I think it comes down to control too, because when you're in a
Mhm.
hospital, there's a lot of things that aren't in your control,
Yes.
and but that is something that you can.
Mhm.
And so I think what a blessing you are to your patients to be leading by example, and that was something that you put on the prep form a little bit. Can you speak to the
Mhm.
importance of that in your life, like for your
Oh,
patients
certainly.
and your kids and all of that stuff?
Yeah. Um, yeah, the importance of having the answers. Going into ICU, was a definitely a different kind of experience than I thought I was going to have. I thought I was going to go in and take care of critically ill patients. I didn't realize that a lot of them were going to be my age, my peer group. The first week when I took care of someone I had known as in childhood should have been a clue,
Wow.
and it definitely was. And I thought, if I don't have the answers for myself, how am I going to tell them? These are people my age. It's one thing to tell somebody older, you know,
Mhm.
who maybe didn't have a lot of health care or, they're a certain way because of generational things. They didn't go to the doctor a lot. It's a one thing to be able to educate those people and give them a baseline knowledge. But from my peer to peer group who's working, raising families, tight budgets, got things on their mind. If I don't have the answers for myself, how am I gonna give them the answers? They don't have any more time to exercise than I do. I don't have any more time than they do. So
Mhm.
I had to be able to come from when I say something, I have to be able to come from that authentic place in order for it to hit the way I want it to.
Mhm.
It wasn't enough for me to be able to tell them they already know.
Yeah. And what about your children? And like, because you mentioned in
Mhm,
your form too that you came from a very food-centric family, as do
mhm,
I, and we
mhm,
still are. I've shifted, my mom eats healthier and she cooks
mhm,
healthier and that kind of stuff, but um, it can be hard. It can be really
mhm,
hard to make different choices than your relatives make and to feel
yeah,
that food peer pressure,
mhm,
and to be around food pushers. So has that been hard to kind of change your identity around food
mhm,
and
mhm. Feels
naturally
like
then that would
letting
change
go.
relationships?
Well, and it is interesting because those relationships have changed anyway. My big extended family, the ones that used to tease me all the time, they were also huge eaters and huge food pushers, so there's some irony for you.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yep.
but but now my grandparents have passed away, and my mom has also passed away. So I'm in the matriarch role.
Wow.
And so we're all adults, all the grandkids are adults now, and they're breaking off into those little segments, and it's only like at a big reunion that we would all be together again. Um, so in a way, carrying on those traditions feels like the last link to those people. And in other ways, it's not necessarily a package I want to give my kids in the ways that it has cost. Um, the way that we ate was fine if it was only one day, but that was not really what it was for any of us. It was our entire lifestyle. The holidays were just an example to or just an, opportunity to eat all day instead of in
Yeah.
actual meal forms. So, yeah.
Oh. And it's
But
hard
for
because it is, like, it's so ingrained in our culture and our family of origin for food to be comfort, for food to be love,
yeah,
for
it's
parents and
part of being
grandparents to
human.
show that.
Mhm. It's part of
But
being human.
yeah, but there is, how you were talking about, like, the risk and benefit ratio of, like, a surgery. There's kinda
Mhm.
that same thing for, like, having a family culture that's super duper into sugar or sweets or, food. There's that risk
Mhm.
benefit ratio to that. The benefit
Yeah.
is, yeah, it's fun and I always think that, like, sugar augments my positive emotions and soothes my negative emotions, like, makes me feel even
It's
happier
my
and more
favorite.
excited. But it
Yeah.
also soothes it and but then there's that cost
Mhm.
of generational habits that aren't great for us, you know?
No.
So that's
No, and I need to be able to give them something better. The generations that came before me were always trying to give us something better than what they had had. And for me, it's not even financial so much anymore, because it was that way in our family at times, trying to give the next generation a leg up so it's not such a struggle. Now it's a giving them something better for me looks like giving them the opportunity to experience breaking bread together and the joy around that with a beautiful meal, a simple meal, nobody's stressed out, and emotions are not running high enough that that food is our steam valve during that get together. And that takes a lot of work on the other side of that gathering. And that's all going into those gatherings for me. I don't necessarily want them to be the place where we get together and needle each other about
Yeah.
all the things nobody wants to talk about, but we're going to talk about. I and then, food is there and it's everything and there's all this stuff around it and you can tell my relationship with food is very complicated. Um, I needed to be able to give them a simpler, more beautiful relationship with food and family. That's an ongoing project as they're getting as to be young adults.
I wrote down, emotional brain training because I was
Mm,
talking with you offline, we're adding it to the program, and it's really about erasing and replacing these old wires and circuits, and you said, like, I have a lot in my mind around food. We all have a
mhm,
food circuit and a body circuit and a love circuit and a mood circuit, and it'll be
mhm.
so interesting. I hope that you take advantage of those tools and
I
resources.
definitely will.
How have your kids responded? I just out of curiosity, have they noticed that
Mhm.
shift in you? Have they appreciated that? Have they pushed back against it at all?
Oh, no, they haven't pushed back against it. Honestly, they're really wonderful. They're at that age where they're very much doing them. They're 21, almost 25, and almost 27. And they're like I was, where it's, "Love you, mom. You're awesome. See you sometime." We're in contact, but it's on me a lot of the time to put together the moments.
Mm.
And so I have to be very intentional about that. And um, if they're like I was, they don't appreciate it now like they will later. And so I'm banking on that.
I'm confident you've done such a lovely job with them. I'm confident that they will be appreciating that. But more importantly, do you have any grandkids yet?
No,
I didn't think
no,
so.
yeah.
They are going to appreciate your health so much when they
Mhm.
have grandkids. That's been so surprising to me,
Mhm.
like, appreciating my mom and mother-in-law and how they're able to support my marriage and my children
Mhm.
and form deep relationships with my children because they have the health and vibrancy to do
Mm.
so.
It's huge. I didn't have that on both sides when I needed it the most,
Really, really.
really. My father-in-law was sick with COPD, and he was passing away as we were divorcing, and my mom was getting very sick with early onset Alzheimer's. Neither pair could really be there for us when we needed them the most, when the kids needed them the most, and I think about that, and I want to be able to be there for them.
That
You
breaks
don't
my
know.
heart.
Yeah, it
That
was.
breaks my heart.
My heart was breaking because I'm going through all this stuff and I'm holding my kids to me, and my ex-husband is going on deployment now, and we're divorcing after 20 years together, and no one can help. No one can help. And everything was just shattered. And it's not like any of it was anyone's fault. My parents just were not, nor were my in-laws in a position to help. And
Yeah.
they would have wanted to. They would have wanted to.
But that speaks to what you were saying earlier, like, you want to give the next generation better, like,
Mhm,
and like you said, it's not so much financial at this point, it's, like, better of, like, more time,
mhm.
more help, more
Totally.
attention, more memories, more intention, and the reason I got emotional there was, like, my, 8 out of 9 of our grandparents, so one of them was divorced and remarried,
Mm,
um, were present at our wedding.
Mm, that's really
Yeah,
fun.
that's so rare, and, like, I went into geriatrics to pay it forward because I was so close to my grandparents and learned so much from them, and one of them's still alive, one of my grandmas and one of Justin's
Oh,
grandmas,
wonderful.
and, it's very I think they can be very influential, and so there's that
Mhm.
ripple effect, Wendy, and it's like, so by you changing your health habits, by you it's almost like a cycle breaker. Have you ever thought of yourself as a cycle breaker?
I have not I would only be so honored to be a cycle breaker.
Mhm.
I would love to be. That's a
You're a
big word.
cycle breaker. Yeah, it
That's
is a
a big
big
word.
word,
Mhm.
but you are. And so by changing your habits, you're influencing your children and you're going to be able to influence your grandchildren in a bigger way. And that's so, so cool. Like that's to me what it's all about.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting super deep here. So I want to kind of
Mm.
back up just a little bit, and I would love to hear a little bit more about just what you have found most helpful about Zivli. We can start there, and then we can talk about your results so far.
There's been a lot that's been super helpful, and it's actually changed throughout the process, because I
Mhm.
didn't have a pod for the longest. And I would say the thing that helped the most at the beginning was doing the course and then the reboot and having all the materials to work on, the homework, just the sheer volume of it was really good for me,
Good.
because I like to get into stuff and like dig down and never run out. And that's how the whole program still feels to me, which is why another reason why I really love it, because I feel like I'll never get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
There's always more layers to peel off. And so doing the course and the reboot was really good. The personal faith formula was super critical, and I do the journaling every day still. I do it in a way that's very like bullet journal. It doesn't take me long. It's a 3 minute, but I hit all the things, and I still do that every day, and that's been really important. I catch as many of the calls. The community aspect is so important for me. I really love that part,
Mhm.
and having my pod now has been really fun. I never thought I would like something like that, but we've had a great time with that. So, and we keep each other accountable in all the right ways. Like, we don't really put each other to the fire, but, we talk about, like, "What did you catch this week? What are you
Mm,
learning about? What are you doing? How's that going for you?" And, talking about our different goals for the week. So, it's been wonderful.
that's great, and I love hearing that. No one's explained it like that before, like, well, when I started, this was the most helpful, and then now that I've been doing it a while, this is the most helpful. So I really appreciate that,
Mhm.
and, like, our program is lifetime membership for a reason, and I think that that's kind of the reason that I've never been able to put into words. It's like, well, the needs change. People like, life happens. People have to come and go, or they might have to come and go, and it's like, we wanna be there to support them when
Right.
they
We're
need the
definitely not
support.
static. We're
Mm,
definitely not static. And I'm in a
mm-mm.
different spot with the program than my two pod mates are.
Mhm.
So for when I talk to them and they're still working through the actual program, that's really refreshing for me because I'm like, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that part's so good."
yeah.
And when they say, "Okay, well, what do you do?" And I say, "Well, this is how I'm structuring my program right now. This is what I'm taking out of it and running with right now." And explaining how I like to kind of dip in and out of the Kajabi material, the Kajabi community app. I'm back and forth. I do work a lot.
Mhm.
So it's, little pieces, parts that I'm putting into my entire day, really. I'm layering it in. And
Yeah.
then my pod calls are like my one non negotiable.
I love that. I love that. We are with emotional brain training. One thing that I'm learning is so much of that self sabotage happens in the emotional brain, and the emotional brain needs connection. It absolutely needs love and support and connection. So, we're going to put even more emphasis, I think, on that community aspect moving forward because the people that you talk to that are the most successful are the people that aren't doing it alone. Like,
Mhm.
they're just getting support, they're getting love. So that's cool to hear you reinforce what the science supports essentially.
Mhm.
Can you share some of your results so far that you've had?
Oh, sure. I have when I came into Zivli, I had already lost, um, I think almost 30 pounds on my own. So since joining, though, I've lost a total of 70.
Wow.
And that's in a 3-year time span, which sounds great to me. Doesn't that sound like a sell?
It sounds
That lose
fantastic. No,
70 pounds in 3 years.
but that's the
It
thing,
works
like,
for me.
that's what people need to hear because
Yeah.
what does that mean? That means you're not gaining it back over the 3 years, you're
Mhm.
continuing to improve, and, like, that is what's most important, like, you can lose weight a lot of different ways, but the key is to keep it
Mhm.
off and to keep growing and progressing, so I love
Yes.
that. Yeah, that's
Going slow was the game changer for me because it gave me time to change my default settings. I could not apparently have changed my default because the first time I lost the 60 pounds, that was fast and hard.
yeah,
And I just ran literally to keep it off. And so there was no normal eating structure, normal life structure that supported me being a lower weight. It had to be built 1% at a time, a little bit fewer calories here. Okay, that didn't kill me. So good. And then just, I'm still alive. I'm awake. Very slow buildup changed my defaults. And that's what I had to have because my defaults were so deep. And they still can be at times. When I went
yeah.
on vacation, I just did whatever I wanted to do. And then when I got back, I kind of still wanted to do whatever I want to do. And I told myself, well, that's cool, but you're going to track it all.
Oh, good for you, like, good if
So
like,
that's
you
what
met
I
yourself
did.
where you were at, good for
Yeah.
you.
I'm like, well, just start at the beginning then.
Yeah.
Start tracking it all. So, yeah, and then it just then and now it's easier to just get that pendulum back once you know what it looks like
Mhm.
and you've lived with it and beside it for a period of time, it's much easier to get it back there than when it's
It
a foreign
becomes your new
entity.
normal, you know, it's
Yeah.
almost like, um, you know how you had that certain lifestyle, and that was what was comfortable for you,
Mhm.
and when you tried to quote unquote "be healthy," that felt uncomfortable, and so
Mm.
there's that slow shift of, like, the healthy lifestyle, the healthier choices becoming the comfortable choices, your default choices, and then when you go on vacation
Yeah.
and you do whatever you
That's when I
want,
feel off balance. Yeah.
that's gonna feel uncomfortable now, so I think that's kinda the ultimate switch.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I didn't realize that because 'cause I'd never given myself the opportunity to do it that way. It wa that doing it the way I've done it is a first for me in 50 some years.
Gosh, I'm so grateful to hear that. I'm so grateful that you, like, tried one more thing, you know? You're like,
Yeah,
"Okay,
me too. Me too.
good. That's
Yeah.
great." Okay, so 70 pounds in 3 years sounds
Yeah.
great to me.
Yes. So all the, metabolic syndrome numbers and, statistics, the symptoms that they give, I had all of those, including high blood pressure. I've had high blood pressure pretty much all my adult life. So the biggest change there in the blood pressure was going from 4 medications to 2. So
Wow.
that's a coup in my world. And
Yes.
then, the fasting glucose and fasting insulin changed a lot. My fasting insulin has been as high as 22. When
Mm,
I got at the time I joined Zivli, it was hanging, I think, around 12.
okay.
Um, and then the last time I had it checked, it was 3.9, which was definitely the lowest it's ever been. And
Yes.
my glucose used to hang right below 100, so I was always flirting with disaster there. And it's the last one I had was 73. So those both looked really good. The HOMA IR dropped a ton
Mhm.
because of that shift with the triglycerides and the HDL ratio. My HDL, I've always struggled to get up there. And I've taken a lot of fish oil too. And so between that and I need to exercise more, that's my next attack on HDL. Um, my HDL actually got over the low threshold and because I think it
Good.
was 40 something and now it's 52.
Yeah. Yep, and that low threshold for women, they want anything over 50.
I know, it's a
So
lot of
you're
pressure.
there.
Yeah.
I
So and
know.
then and the ratio improved too, the HDL triglyceride ratio. I've never had a huge cholesterol problem. My fractionated is not so hot, but my numbers have always been fine. And the triglycerides themselves, I want to say they were almost 100 at one point, but now they're down at like 67. So the
Mm.
automatically with the HDL up and the triglycerides down, the ratio's improved quite a bit. There's been all kinds of things. My waist circumference, which I had always had like a really relatively small waist, but that changes a little bit as you get older. Um, I had always had like a 12-inch difference between my waist and my hips,
Yeah.
but my waist was still over the 35 inches, and it was like 36, I think, or 37, and now it's down around 32. And
Nice.
so it's come down below, like all the metabolic syndrome numbers and symptoms have been addressed. And that's huge because metabolic syndrome is something I didn't even understand as a nurse. It's like
Really?
right there. Well,
It's right there.
nobody
It's, like,
talks
so
about it.
obvious.
And
Yeah.
nobody talks about it, but it's like a magic eye picture. Like once you know it's there, you can't not see it because now you know what to look for because those numbers, all of that triangulation of all those different symptoms is there, but it's not what people talk about. Now they do, but it wasn't for a long time. So
Mhm.
it's been good to have all of that addressed. My parents both have a type 2 diabetes diagnosis. And so having done wound care nursing and having seen like that side of diabetes too, it's not we treat it so casually and it is anything but.
I know. Yeah.
It's anything but. It is it's vicious. And so I did not want to give it the chance. And I knew with two parents having had the diagnosis that it was right there. So I had to try and get out of those crosshairs. That was important. So I think we're there. I think we're out of the crosshairs.
I'm so proud of you, first of all, and your
Thank you.
story has been so amazing. We're not done yet, but I just wanted to reflect. You said you reversed all these metabolic syndrome markers
Mhm.
in TOPS and Weight Watchers. I'm guessing not the cabbage soup diet because there's no education there.
Probably
You
not.
just
No,
eat cabbage soup. Was
you
any
just
other
suffer.
Yeah, you just suffer. Was, I was gonna say you just suffer and fart, but
I was thinking it, but I didn't say it, so thanks for saying it.
I said it, you just suffer and fart. Um, was any other program as health centric? Like, did they teach you about these numbers and like, or
Oh,
was it
no,
just right?
no,
It's
no.
like,
They
it's
were all they
fascinating.
all try well, not all of them, but, like, the best ones tried to have you eat a balanced diet, but it was always, like, food pyramid, 4 food groups, that kind of thing. N Low carb there's a million reasons why carbs are such a focus in our diet for so long, but those were always the base of everything.
Hmm,
It just switched to, like, whole grains, no sugar.
true.
Um
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So no, none of them were ever focused on metabolic health.
Any improvements in energy or joint pain or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, all of those. I
Yeah.
don't snore as much.
Nice.
Um, yes, not as much pain overall, definitely. I work with a lot of younger nurses in the ICU, and I can keep up with them. I always could, even when I was heavier, but now I don't have to limp out to the car after my shift.
Mhm.
So, there's been big payoffs there, yes. Um, that was one of the things about the 212 was the physical misery. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a real breaking point for me because I've always said I can handle acute pain, just don't give me chronic pain.
Well, and you
And
didn't mention anything about 212 yet. Do you wanna tell the listeners what that means? Because they might be thinking like, was she doing like 2
oh,
12-hour shifts or like, what does that mean?
212, yes.
Yeah.
212 200 was always what I thought was my body's ceiling because I would never go above that when I would gain weight typically. I could settle down at like 194 and, and then I just hang there, for a few years. And I think, okay, well, I guess I'm just never not going to get above 200. And then all of a sudden I'm at 212. And I'm like, well, sky's the limit apparently. Um, and it was just such a physically miserable place to be because people can weigh 275, they can weigh 325, and they may not be they're healthiest, obviously. Their body might be struggling, but they might not feel like I felt at 212. At 212, it was pain when I opened my eyes and pain when I closed my eyes. And I knew, I was like, I can't do it. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. I'm trapped, but I don't know. I can't do it. So I had to do something. And that was the tracking, just tracking. And then once I had the idea of where I was at, then just giving up the 1%. And then, it's like anything else, the momentum builds and the benefits come and the sacrifices come and then more benefits come. And so now I feel very much at home in my own body. And that's worth a lot. That's a There's no really replacing that.
No.
It, it doesn't mean that I'm super skinny or that I like to, wear certain clothes. I don't necessarily. Um, I just don't. I feel at home in my own body. Like I can get on the ladder and clean my own gutters. I can work 12 hours and walk upright out to the car. I can do what I want to do.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So if someone's on the fence about joining Zivli, like if they were where you were, like at a weight they thought that they would never be,
Mhm.
um, worried that they were just gonna fail again, but they're like curious and they're like,
Mhm.
eh.
There's Div Curious.
Yeah, they're Zivli curious. They're like, okay, I don't think it's a hoax. I don't think this is, a scam.
Mhm.
What
Well,
advice?
you're very cute and polished. So people might be tempted to be like, "Oh, she don't know," when they see you. But it's in your feed for a reason. Just
Right.
saying. It's in your feed for a reason. Somebody knows something about you
Yeah.
and something about what you need. And really, you have not tried everything because Zivli exists and you haven't tried that. And it's
Mhm.
a very solid based, as it were, program.
Base.
Um,
I love that.
Based, yeah, that offers the latest that we know, the latest and the best of what we know now. And so for me, like I would recommend it to anybody. I would recommend it to any of my patients. I would recommend it to my family. It, yeah, it's my calling card. So
Thank you. And for those who don't know, I think I did a YouTube video about this a long time ago. I think I've now lost over 100 pounds in my life.
I did see that one.
You
Yeah.
see that one? And it's not all at once, but there are
Mhm.
still skills every single time you lose
Every
weight.
pound's a battle.
Oh my gosh, like I'm 12 weeks postpartum today at the time of this recording.
Mhm.
And so I'm still in it. Yeah. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
done yet. And I learned something
And this
new.
is number 3.
Yeah, this is number 3. But I'm so grateful for that because it does give me I think that experience, um, knowing that it is hard even to lose 5 pounds, even to lose 10
Mhm.
pounds and keep it off is hard. But then also, like, that combined with my geriatric experience, just like what you were
Mhm.
saying of, like, you see the end-stage disease, and you're like,
Mhm.
"Well, I definitely don't want that, and I don't want that
Mhm.
for anybody else in the entire world. So, let's do something about that." I definitely have a lot of
Mhm.
compassion. Yeah, so what message would you give to new members? So, let's say someone's listening, they're like, I'm gonna do it. I've been listening to her podcast for, like, 2 years, and I've tried it on my own, and I'm just ready to see what this is all about." So they purchase it, they enroll, and then they get the welcome email and they start reading things and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm a little bit overwhelmed because I know the next 10 weeks are going to be filled with learning." Maybe they're getting kind of bogged down in the details. Like, what advice
Mhm.
would you give to a brand new member who just joined?
Mhm. I enjoyed the floodgates being opened because I'm that person. I enjoyed the fire hose because that's what I do when I get into something. I'm like, yeah, crank it. And then, of course, I'm
Mhm.
stopping wet and sad. But so during those moments, you can still feel the hope
Mm,
that you can see the practical framework start to take shape.
mhm.
You just start putting the day together on the end, whichever end is your easy end. If you're a night person, it'd be the nights. If you're a day person, it's the morning. Everybody says morning is the time. That's the time that works for me. You just start putting those little pieces together a little at a time and just be patient with yourself. And I have that monkey bar analogy because that's what it feels like to
Yes,
me,
share
like
that,
where
yeah.
you're just swinging, you're getting going, you're just swinging. You grab the bar and then you see that next bar and then you like get enough of momentum where you can just grab for it and you can see it. So like make sure you can see it, put the work in, put the swing in. And then when you can see your next skill to grab onto, just grab it. Just grab it and go.
I love it. Thank you, Wendy. Like, this has been such a delight for me. I hope it was so valuable for people listening, whether
Me
they're an
too.
existing Zivli member and they're like, okay, I really want to dig into this even more now, or they're gonna join us in fall and they're like, okay, this was the story. Like, this was the one I needed to hear. Um,
Mhm. I've
I
heard a lot like that. I've heard a lot like that. There's good takeaways, I think, from all of them.
mhm,
We all kind of have had, I think, shades of the same experience. It's not been identical, but there's that common thread. And so when you hear it in someone else's story, it's like those connections you talked about. It's like there's
yeah.
that little connection that ties you to them. And, it's that lifeline, that little rope, making that little rope that you need.
I feel very, very excited that your journey isn't done and that you're going to still get
Oh, no.
1% better every day and that you are just going to grow like in that internal joy and confidence and vibrancy and freedom that comes
Mhm,
from putting in the work, putting in the reps and like
mhm,
that is what gives you the feelings that often people attribute to just being at a certain weight or being at a certain
mhm.
size. It's
Not at all.
not. It's like who you become along the way and the person of
Mhm.
integrity and growth and authenticity. I'm just, I'm so impressed by you. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. I am super excited about the EBT that you're bringing in, and I feel like your passion for the program is what creates and fuels all the good change in people because there's always more. The program itself evolves, and you let it. You don't
Hmm.
hold it to be one certain thing. You let it evolve, and I think that's gonna be really key moving forward. I think that's part of its great success is that you don't try to make it be any certain thing, but you just kind of have an instinct for it, and then you respond to the cues that you're given.
And it turns out, Wendy, there's science to that. Yeah, it's like emotional co-regulation. And
Mm,
so,
I
like, when a
like it.
toddler's upset and they go to their parent for comfort,
Mhm,
like, that's kind of what is happening on a neurological level is someone's
mhm,
stressed out and they're coming to you to be less stressed, to be that source of hope, to believe in them when they're not even sure if they believe in them. And it's like, so I
mhm,
really view that as a big part of my job is to hold space for the members and
mhm.
hope for the members. And thanks for saying that because I do try to do that and I appreciate
'Cause you were
that.
trying to. Who knew?
Yeah.
Well, you succeeded. So it's that energy transfer that you're referring to?
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it. It's been a
Powerful.
big part of my nursing too. A lot of it's built on physical touch because it's
Yeah.
important to me to physically touch my patients if it's appropriate.
Hmm.
But that's always been a big part of my nursing, but also that eye contact has always been a big part of it too. Um, and that energy transfer that you get from that. Because I feel like I do that as well in my role. So I know what you're talking about, that feeling where you're like, I'm sending you the vibes. You picking them up? Like we're
Yeah.
doing this.
And thank you again. I appreciate your time today.
You too. You take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.